Good morning, it's Anand here from Osho, Ireland, and today I am sharing the 70th meditation technique. And I've mentioned before that there is groupings of these meditation techniques, and these ones are tantric meditations using light. So we're going to focus on light. So the instructions are: consider your essence as light rays rising from center to center up the vertebrae, and so rises livingness in you. So just what Osho shares. So what I'm going to do is go through what Osho shares, talk about the technique. We might be a bit longer today. Usually I'm 15 minutes. This could take longer, and I'll explain why. So if you feel like you can't, say, devote up to half an hour for this technique, maybe do it at a later time today, because it's going to be recorded and available. But I'll go through it and then we'll do the technique. But you need to complete this technique right through to the end, and I'll explain in a minute why. So Osho shares on this. Many yoga methods are based on this. First, understand what it is, then the application. So the theory and then how it works in practice. The vertebrae, the spine, is the base of both your body and mind. Your mind, your head, is the end part of your spine. The whole body is rooted in the spine. If the spine is young, you are young. If the spine is old, you are old. If you can keep your spine young, it is difficult to become old. Everything depends on your spine. If your spine is alive, you will have a very brilliant mind. If the spine is dull and dead, you will have a very dull mind. The whole yoga tries in many ways to make your spine alive, brilliant, filled with light, young and fresh. The spine has two ends. The beginning is the sex center and the end is the sahasrara, the seventh center at the top of the head. The beginning of the spine is attached to the earth, and sex is the most earthly thing in you. From the beginning center in your spine, you are in contact with nature, with what the Sankhya has called prakriti, the earth, the material. From the last center, or the second pole, sahasrara, in the head, you are in contact with the divine. These are the two poles of your existence. So this technique will be about moving the energy from our sex center up to the sahasrara. Okay, so normally Osho explains that our gravitation, feeling sexual energy is easier because gravitation pulls the energy downwards, and it brings us back down to the earth. And this technique is about moving the energy upwards up to our sahasrara. So I'm now going to go through with what Osho says about the actual technique. Now, before I do that, he does give a few sort of warnings, okay? So I think it's better to talk about the warnings first. He says that don't leave the energy somewhere in the body. Yeah, actually, do you know what? I'm going to talk the technique and then I'll tell you the kind of the caveats. So Osho says, this sutra says, consider yourself, which means imagine yourself. Close your eyes and imagine yourself just as if you are light. And we all can imagine ourselves. So it's about looking at yourself as light. He says this is not just imagination. In the beginning it is, but it is reality also, because everything consists of light, and there's lots of scientific evidence that goes on about that. So you consider yourself as light. He also breaks it down into 5 dimensions. So normally when we think of the energy systems, we think of 7 chakra points. For this technique, he divides it into 5 dimensions. So we start with our sex center, then we go move to just below our navel, then we move to the heart, the third eye, and then through the sasra. So he says, so just feel that the energy, just the light rays, is rising up from your sex center to your navel like a river of light. Immediately you will feel a warmth rising in you. Soon your navel will become hot. You can feel the hotness. Even others can feel that hotness. Through your imagination, the sex energy will have started to rise. When you feel that now the second center at the navel has become a source of light, that the rays are coming and being collected there, then start to move to the heart center. As the light reaches the heart center, as the rays are coming, your heartbeat will be changed, your breathing will become deeper, and a warmth will come to your heart. Go on upwards. So we're imagining ourselves as light, beginning at the sex center, moving up to the navel, then to the heart, then to the third eye, and then to the sasra. And in that experience, we start to feel the livingness in us. So this technique says, consider or imagine your essence as light rays from center to center up the vertebrae, and so rises livingness in you. And livingness is experiencing the world through your senses, sight, sound, smells, touch, taste, really experiencing like a child, with no thought, with no interaction. And this technique will bring you lighter. So before we actually start the technique, I just wanted to share with you something that Osho says. He says, make sure you start this technique from beginning to end. So if you start with the energy rising up through you, don't leave it in the middle. He says that this can cause mental illnesses. So be careful. If for example, today, this right now, you can't spend the time to move through the 5 energy centers, do it later when you are free and undisturbed and your phone won't go or somebody will disturb you. Give this all the time it needs. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 10, it could be 20. What I won't do is, normally I would always ring 3 bells and that would be the end. Today I will just, when I'm completed doing mine, I will just stop silently the Facebook Live, okay? And you continue on if that's if you need the more time. All right? So he says, don't leave it anywhere. He says you might also experience some sensations, some sexual sensations and all of that. That's a very good sign. He also says that when the energy reaches up to your head, to the sasra, imagine it opening out like 1,000 petals, lotus petals of light, which I think is very beautiful. And he says, the energy in the head, it might become dizzy, you might feel like you go unconscious. That's all okay. Don't worry. You will be safe. So if you think that could happen, maybe sit down and have a pillow behind you or something. He says, but don't be afraid. And if your head becomes hot, it is a good sign. Release the energy. Feel as if your head is opening like a lotus flower, as if energy is being released into the cosmos. As the energy is released, you will feel a coldness coming to you. You have never felt the coldness that comes after this hotness. But do the technique completely. Never do it incompletely. So what I'm going to do now is, together, if you have the time and you can give this without being disturbed, we're going to close our eyes and we're going to visualize or imagine the light in our sex center and feeling that warmth. And as it naturally moves up to the navel, again, we'll feel that real filling up with light all the way up through to the sasra. So just reminding the sex center, the navel, the heart, the third eye, and the sasra. Feeling ourselves as light. And when I'm complete, I'll finish the meditation quietly, and you might finish before me or after me, but you continue on in your own way. Enjoy the meditation, and I'll see you next Sunday at 11 for the 71st technique. Enjoy now.